Hey everyone, Charting Man Dan from ChartGuys.com. You know, behind every single video that we put out every single day, there's a wonderful community of traders that we want to invite you to be a part of. Try the free 7-day trial and gain access to our live market broadcasts every morning and afternoon, interact with hundreds of like-minded traders, or take part in one of our dedicated chat rooms, each led by an analyst that's there to answer your questions in real time. Our trial is risk-free with absolutely no commitment or credit card required to experience the TCG community. For those looking for a head start in technical analysis, check out our entries and exits course in the link below in the description. Get up to speed with the fundamentals of TCG technical analysis and experience over 5 hours of great community-driven trading education. Hello everyone, checking in on the Canadian MJ sector, and it's still bearish and we still got a big pullback going on, lower highs and lower lows. So we headed into the start of this week anticipating a bounce. We were due for a bounce after a very bearish 2 weeks ago, but we were anticipating a lower high to form. And again, what we need to break this trend is higher lows and then higher highs. So even though we knew a lower high was likely to form, we were looking to see if after that lower high, can the bulls form a higher low and then try and break the higher high. So what we were looking at on Weed is still very, very weak, and it's one of the weaker names in the sector at this moment in terms of the daily chart. You can see very clearly now, over the past 3 months, this is a textbook downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. So we had our low heading into the week of 886. We saw the bounce start to play out, and if we can't even get over these exponential moving average resistances here on the daily time frame, that shows that the bulls really have no momentum to the upside. This is a very weak indication. So we rejected, didn't even see 2 solid green days in a row. We saw 1 green day and then puttered to the upside. So a lot of bulls are not going to be liking this technical analysis and certainly get a lot less likes and shares when, you know, I'm not saying it's all is great and rosy for the bulls, but it is what it is, and we need to accept that the bears are in control of this sector right now, and we do not have many catalysts in the short term to the upside to be looking at to change that. So the low here of 886 is currently a double bottom. We held it by 1 penny today. The bulls must show up now and break 934. That's the high of this bounce attempt. If that does occur, we then have a higher low by 1 penny and then a higher high. But obviously the odds of what is more likely to happen, because we're still weak, we're only 9 cents above that key support, it is more likely than not that we will break that support and see another lower low. So the key range right now in the short term is 886 support and 934 resistance, with the bulls attempting to change this trend. Weekly time frame, ever since we lost the middle Bollinger Band on the weekly, it's been lower highs and lower lows. We have now seen 9 weeks in a row, and even more than that. If we're looking back here, we had a week starting at the end of February, and 4, 8, 11 here in a row, and very clearly a lot of profit taking is going on. It's not a dump by any means. It's slow and steady to the downside. Look at the volume. The volume is dropping off, so that is one thing that the bulls do have in their favor. It is not an all-out dump. There's not increasing bear volume. We will look for a support level to be found, but if we break 886, it's down to 851 and a must-hold 765. That's a must-hold for every individual name. The low of the pullback after the profit-taking began at the end of November, that is an absolute must-hold level. So that is the one that you want to mark on your chart and never lose sight of that, because if we do break that, the long-term trend is in question. That would then be our high, low of the pullback, lower high, and a lower low. That would change the trend on the weekly. So that is the most important support. We still have a lot of wiggle room before we get to that level, but we do want to be keeping our eye on it. APH, stronger, but not by much. You can see we've got our low established, and we still have a bunch of wiggle room before that low gets tested again. So that low was down at 585. We're holding the 100-day moving average support, trying to form a higher low here. The bulls were liking the lack of volume here on this pullback. Very low bear volume, but the volume today certainly more bearish, and it was pretty decent amount of volume. So not confident that a higher low is going to be set. We need a bullish reversal candlestick similar to the one that we saw here at the bottom to indicate that a higher low is here and the bulls are ready to show back up. And we didn't get that here at the end of the week. We were scouting. We were looking here today on Friday for this bullish reversal candlestick to form because of the low bear volume. But as soon as we broke the low of Thursday, we saw some pretty high bear volume and we saw no sign of the bulls. We knew to be patient. It's not time to get back in yet. And it's really hard to be patient if you're not used to trading. If your only experience is in the Canadian MJ sector, this is a time to be studying, to be expanding your education. We've got a bunch of marijuana traders going into the cryptocurrency. Have you checked out the cryptocurrencies? I've been putting videos out on them. They're going multiple hundreds of % in a few days here. So keep an eye on the cryptocurrency. There's plenty of plays to be had out there. You don't have to stick just with Canadian marijuana. If you're a long-term investor, you're absolutely just sticking with it. But if you're looking for trades and liquidity, you're jumping around to other different sectors and going where the money flow is. And right now, that's cryptocurrency. Go check out the Bitcoin chart. Check out the Ethereum chart. Ethereum, I think, has gone 800% in 2 months. There's a lot of money to be made. I just placed another entry to get into Ethereum here right before I made this video, and in 10 minutes here, I'm up $1.50. So it trades 24/7, now up $2. It's running while I'm talking. So certainly trading opportunity to be had out there. Checking in on APH on the weekly time frame, we do have this middle Bollinger Band support holding at 611, and we just held that level last week, and we just held it this week. If we lose that level, it's a bit of a red flag. It has held as support for the past year. We saw what happened when weed lost its middle Bollinger Band weekly support, so we do need to be cautious if that level is lost. So we're looking down at 585 support. If that level is lost, I'm looking down at 502 as the next clear support after that. So the bulls really want to hold this middle Bollinger Band and really want to hold 585. ACB on the daily time frame. Also, this is the most convincing higher low that we've seen attempting to form here. So we have our low down at 250 and now our higher low, and it's more convincing because of the wick. Look at the lower wick on this candlestick. That shows bulls buying the dip. So I'm a lot more confident that a higher low is going to be set here on ACB than on any other chart that we looked at, just because of that wick and where the momentum was heading at the end of the day. So now the bulls have established a higher low at 261. We need to hold that level on Monday and break 277 here by, or really there's no time frame on when it has to happen, but we need a higher low and a higher high. That would reverse this trend. The weekly time frame is showing that consolidation on decreasing bear volume, and the weekly trend on ACB here doesn't look too bad. We've got higher lows and higher highs, trying to establish another higher low here at 250. Holding the middle Bollinger Band, you can see we were struggling at the upper Bollinger Band resistance, rejecting a couple weeks there, pulling back, bouncing off the middle Bollinger Band, and watching to see if the bulls can show back up and head back to the upside by breaking 277. So it's all about higher lows and higher highs for the bulls to show back up. EMC, not convincing here that a higher low is established. Our low is down at 234. Trying to form a higher low, it's only at 237. There's not a lot of wiggle room here before we do break down to lower lows. So the bulls need to see some more convincing action to the upside. You can see how similar this pattern is across the board with the sector ever since that run up into the news event, the conference here. Lower highs and lower lows is very clear. What I'm seeing here on EMC is a descending triangle pattern, and I'll draw that up real quick. Descending triangle pattern is when you have a horizontal base of support and you have a declining lower high resistance zone. And you can see it's a triangle, and the range is getting tighter and tighter. So we had a high, pull back and a bounce off support, lower high, bounce off support, lower high, bounce off support, just at that level. So we're either going to break the lower high pattern or fall through support. And if you're not in a trade yet, that is a potential indication of a trade. And I'm not trying to predict the future here with these patterns. I'm trying to put the odds in my favor by watching the pattern break. So if I see a break of this lower high pattern and we get over the high that we rejected from earlier this week, and let's get that exact price here, the level to break here for EMC is at 264. If we break 264 and I get in bullish, I know the odds of seeing some further movement to the upside are more likely than not. And if we see a close here below this support line and a loss of 234 support, we know further downside is coming. So I'm not looking at this pattern and saying, oh, I know we're going to break bullish here, I'm going to get in. I am waiting for the break, and that break is going to favor momentum to that side that the break does occur. Checking in on the weekly time frame, very, very weak overall. We're coming off of that all-time low. The bears have been very strong here on EMC after we broke that all-time low, lower high, and the bulls must form a higher low. The only thing that the bulls have in their favor in this sector right now is declining bear volume on this pullback on the weekly time frame. So that is something to be keeping an eye on, and we are going to be looking for some intermittent periods of bullish action. Just keep in mind that the U.S. sector very often, I've been trading the U.S. sector now for 6-7 years, and it is a very seasonal sector. In the fall, we run. In the summer, it's very dead. And I tried to trade in the summer back before I noticed this pattern, and it was very, very difficult, and I very quickly gave that up. And a lot of other traders do that as well. Not saying that's going to happen with Canada, but it is something to be aware of, and certainly would not be surprised if that were to be the case. HMMJ, pretty much a bear's dream right now. So we do need to be cautious as bulls because it's an ideal scenario for the bears to be able to look at a chart and see absolutely no support and be hitting all-time lows consistently. 983 was the all-time low. We hit a new all-time low today by breaking that level, and the bears are in full control. So the lower high was established here at 1050. The bulls have to break 1050 to break this lower high pattern, and at this point, that's over 6% to the upside. So the bulls have their hands full in terms of trying to turn around this trend. We've seen three, look at these green days. 3 green days in the past 3 weeks of trading. So very clearly the bears are in control of this move. The volume is drying up here. It's tapering off. Keep an eye out for a volume spike and the direction that that volume spike occurs in to indicate short-term direction. Weekly time frame, very bearish. And there are shorts looking at this sector now, knowing that the news catalysts are not nearby. So keep that in mind. Personally, I will not short any of these stocks. I don't like the potential to get stuck in a short squeeze on a little blip of news. It's just not worth it to me personally. There's plenty of other trading opportunities out there. SPWRF, also no confidence that a higher low has been established. Increasing bear volume, close at the low of the day, favoring the bears into next week. We're looking down at $1 on the dot. That was the low of this consolidation, a nice round psychological level. If we break $1, we're looking down at the next low of 893. Bulls have to break this lower high bounce attempt, 116, in order to try and turn this thing around. So you can see how pretty much the setup is the exact same on every single one of these charts where we're in a lower high, lower low pattern. We have not broken to lower lows yet compared to the low that we formed last week. But we've also got no indication that the bulls are going to turn things around right now. The weekly time frame for SPWRF, we have our high, low of the pullback, lower high, lower low, and now we're watching to see if we break this 9 or make that 89 cents level. That is a very significant bearish break on SPRWF. That's the last thing that the bulls want to see happen. So as of right now, we have a lot of people sitting in cash, a lot of traders. Investors are holding tight, and that's perfectly fine. They're in it for the long haul. They've already made their decision. As long as we're not reacting on emotions and changing our game plan and making, rash decisions in the moment, that's fine. We just need to establish these game plans before we are in our trades. I know a lot of people are sitting cash and waiting patiently and getting itchy trigger fingers. But again, this is an opportunity. This is a lull in the action to study up, get more prepared for when the bulls show back up. The bulls will show back up again. It's just a question of when. So I appreciate you watching. We'll continue to check back in on the weekends, and we'll certainly check back in if something sparks the bulls to change this trend right now. But keep an eye on weed to continue this lower high and lower low pattern. And APH still one of the stronger daily charts, but it too not really seeing much bullish action. So thanks again. We'll see you soon.